So we are here today at the intersection, creating common ground between the intersection of business and art, between corporate and creative, and everything in between. And I'm here today with Makafui. Makafui is, and I apologize because
I appreciate you pronouncing my name the right way.
Well, what I was just about to say is when I was 18, I introduced you on a different podcast, and I said Makafui.
Makafui, yeah. It's funny as hell, man. Like I just got out of introducing myself as Mac, right? And so now it's like, somebody told me this recently. Recent time I did an interview, I was like, my name is as easy to pronounce as Elizabeth, but it's not a common name, so I be getting it, you know. And I really do appreciate like the diligence. So real shit, I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't have to train. All I had to do is hear it one time correctly. Like you said, It's not a difficult name. It's just an uncommon name. Anybody can say Makafui.
For sure. It means I praise God.
So anyway, Makafui is the owner of Fourtune House, a hybrid creative workshop and event space designed to host and promote the work of artists all over the city.
For sure.
It's located in the low end in Bronzeville, where Makafui grew up.
44th Street.
There you go. Makafui is truly tapped in with a lot of the creative pulse of Chicago's youth. And within his inner circle are some of the most talented recording artists that
multidisciplinary filmmakers, designers, you know.
He's right. It's not just music. I happen to be really focused on music, so that's where I see a lot going on. But like you just said, he knows a lot of people from all over the city involved in a lot of stuff. And Makafui organized a lot of like community impact and activist related events over the course of the past few years that made noise in their own right. And you overall have a really good balance between being super big hearted, but also having very clear boundaries for yourself.
Trying.
And you've been making moves nonstop since I met you 5 years ago at the Kim Products photo shoot for Saturday Night Hard.
Yeah, I probably met you at Kim Crib before. Maybe at the photo shoot.
It was the photo shoot.
Word.
Well, welcome. That was supposed to be the intro. It was a very long intro. Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You talk a lot about being enthusiastic about how Fourtune House is in Bronzeville, just a few blocks away from a lot of places that you interacted with growing up, or even your mom's store. So could you tell us about the significance of?
Yeah, I mean it's so interesting. Like, it only makes sense that like Fourtune House is called Fourtune House, but originally like my mom's first business and her company is called House of Africa. Unintentionally, this is an extension of the work that my mother has built since moving here a little bit over, about under like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But her business has been open. She's 1999. I'm a 2000s baby, right?
Me too.
2000 is a great year to be born. But we couldn't have done this in any other place. I grew up on 48th Street and I grew up on 44th Street, a couple blocks east from here. And Kari grew up on 41st Street and Drew grew up on 45th Street, 41st Street. So this is our neighborhood, right? And I think in creating an art center, one of the most important things and like the heart of this is creating something that we didn't have. Like, I had to go up north to access a lot of programs, like particularly like art-based programs, right? And so that's something that like, we want to build in this space is like, let's build an art cabinet where artists can come here and access tools to create, but past there, us also being able to create experiences that uplift each other, that empower each other, and we can educate ourselves. We can, we can spill our hearts. We can express ourselves. We can perform. We can watch movies together. We can play video games together. We can engage in art, right? And so what Fourtune House is I think an intersection of a lot of different artistic mediums. We haven't boxed ourselves into like solely working with music artists or solely working with visual artists. Like even in the space right now, we have a rotational gallery and we carry the works of a lot of, really dope visual artists. And that's just because like, I think as creatives, particularly as Black creatives, we've often had to be one thing or the other because of how hard it is to sustain a career in art, right? And I think what we're trying to do is push that boundary of entrepreneurship, a word that was just brought to me recently. But being able to not only express ourselves freely as artists in a liberating space, but then also exist within the reality of the world, which is a lot of times we're artists and we're entrepreneurs. We don't want to, we don't want to be working a 9 to 5 and then trying to do our art from 8 to, from 8 to 11. Right. I'm trying to create that space where, and I think through doing this, I have where my time is free. And free time don't mean you sitting around not doing nothing. Mm-hmm. Free time means you're exploring yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we have to do in this world. There's a lot of pressure, so that's why it's a tough challenge. But Fourtune House is one piece of that puzzle. And there's a lot of great organizations, great people that are creating change in the city. So we just hope to be a part of that change.
Fourtune House is really unique in the sense that I don't even know a lot of other places or venues around the city that are a space for multidisciplinary intersection, like a lot of different things. Like you said, you could watch a movie, you could showcase somebody else's business through what they create. Yeah. Well, how did you get to that place where you were like, this is how the space should exist at?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we, like myself and my peers, looked at and as I kind of mentioned in the beginning, like us reaching so many different areas of art, right? Like one of the first events we did in here, Kari did his short film showing, right? And even just being able to see that flexibility, like Kari being a music artist, but also just a multidisciplinary artist, I feel like it's essential that we can showcase a range of areas. I mean, we've had panels in here about Afrofuturism, and we this past week did a Black business panel with a restaurant owner and somebody who has like an estate sales company, and all types of things like that, right? So I think like this space is intentionally that. I mean, even this past week we had a fashion pop-up. Mm-hmm. And so that was where this space was completely transformed to represent a brand in its initiatives. And I think that's very important because a lot of times we create in the vacuum of the internet, and we can find success creating in the vacuum of the internet, right? But there also is like that connectivity, that irreplaceable connectivity that's built through face-to-face conversations. Like even just with this neighborhood, like I'm meeting, like I see like the people that walk their dogs over here, like shit, me and Rael are here the most. Like we see the same people. We see the same people walking their dogs. We see the same people that live in this neighborhood, and like now
real life people that live here.
You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. I think part of it is it's just creating an opportunity and like being real, seeing what our needs are, and being adaptable. I think a quote that was given to me recently is that a tree that cannot bend breaks in the wind, and a tree that's flexible survives the wind. And I think taking that ideology, when you have ideas, creative companies, you have to have the fundamental value of flexibility, not boxing yourself in. That's how you survive. And I think you cannot box yourself in while doing one thing really well too. So it's not saying like you got to dabble in all types of different, spaces, but it's saying figure out what you think, figure out what you do well, and then
still explore.
Put that energy into it.
Yeah, that's such
but
a
explore.
refreshing
Don't
mindset.
box. Don't box yourself in. That's what we're doing for ourselves, and that's what we want to see from our community. We just want to see us reach our potentials.
One thing is like you really embody the expression of what you might call universal constants.
Okay.
So,
the universal constants.
what could you give some examples of what are these universally relatable aspects of life?
Shit, word to my earlier. It's a lot. I think we've been having conversations over the past, I don't know how long, but I mean, there's so many. There are some fundamental that you can explore, but I mean, even just looking at the line we walk of polarity and how thinking about what exists on the other side of creation and what exists on the other side of these things that we express ourselves through. And I think it's a deep conversation that is had. It's an internal conversation. I think as creatives, we're all exploring as we create art. Those are our outlets to express, the internal and the external that we experience in the world. And I think we need space for that. I think we can do that within, hopefully the safety of our homes, but we don't always have the safety of our homes to do that. So that's why, and this is me tying those universal constants back to like what this space is. Like this space is a medium in that sense.
Right.
But I mean, there's a ton, and I mean, even for myself personally, like we explore while we here. The only thing that's guaranteed in this is our birth date and our expiration date, right? So it's only so much we're gonna learn in this lifetime. But I advocate for people to study the universe, study their world, study themselves.
It's a great thing.
And we'll find the universal constants that that we all know and that we all carry within us. Some people are more sensitive than others, but regardless of where your sensitivity is, like we experience universal constants. And so, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that for, that's
a long time.
Shit.
It's all in the episode.
I just got tight with a brother yesterday, and like we chopped about these things for 6 hours.
Wow.
Stories, and it's so interesting because like for myself, like I grew up in a church, right? So I grew up in a Catholic church. So I grew up around, or I was an altar boy. So around organized religion, right? Even in that, like one thing I learned from religion is that like that's also a tool to engage with the universal constants. So yeah, I advocate, as I do myself, and like as I feel like a lot of people do, like just exploring your relationship with God, with your Creator, is fundamental to finding peace in this world. Because that's what we need. We need peace in this world. It's a lot of injustice. It's a lot of pain that we're collectively experiencing as a human race. But, we got to find that peace in ourselves. And a step in finding that peace in yourself is finding peace with your Creator, with your universe. Some people see their creation differently. Some people feel they are the creator. And that's a viewpoint that I understand, and that, it's a lot. It's a lot. Some people have a more humble approach to how they see the universe. And seeing yourself is humble too. So you have to know how to create that space where, you recognize your power and the unlimited potential of your conscious, while still being a part of the vast infinity of the universe,
You're like a very worldly individual going off of this.
Sure.
So there's the the universal constants.
In the world, this is the worldly world. As I experience the world, I have found the worldly constants and secret metals that exist. But I found the secret metal that has the power. Nah.
You've been to Japan. You actually studied Japanese in school.
Sure. Yeah.
Japanese is the only other language that I speak. What's it called? Proficiently.
Okay, word. I'm not proficient yet. I'm in Japan. Did you go through Genki?
I did go through Genki 1 and 2.
I'm in Genki. I'm in chapter 14 right now. So
there you go.
So I'm navigating. I'm not conversational yet, but my grammar is good. My vocabulary is good. I had to learn like a baby, So right now I think I'm like a cool 5-year-old. It's also a blessing to, have a dedicated educational space to learn. Like when I'm, up at Loyola, like that is, in a sense, like a vacuum from all the other work that I'm doing, right? When I'm in class, I could talk about Fourtune House, I could talk about the work that I do, but I'm also taking political violence courses, like 400-page documents accounting, political events between the United States government and, wherever. I'm a global studies entrepreneurship, major, minor, international business. So, and I'm from Ghana too.
That's what I was just about to say.
Half my family don't live in the United States.
My question was leading to, you've been to Japan, but you've also been to Ghana, where you're from. Didn't you go with your brother and Chance and Vic Mensa?
Yeah, we was all out there in July. I'm going out there this January as well.
What about the world intrigues you? Like there's the universal constants, but how do you think?
Man, America sucks. For real though. For real. I mean, a lot of places suck though. I don't really like Europe like that. I've been to Europe. I'm not the biggest fan, but I think it's just seeing. You have to. It's one thing, like we could go on our Google Maps and zoom into any place in the world and see how it looks, but it's another thing to shit, to feel the to sit down, to drink water from different places. It's a blessing. So the one thing I implore is I want to see more people. Traveling does so much for you. I don't think this space. Traveling also gives you this a level of self-confidence that I think is very underrated. Because you can become so familiar, especially in a city like Chicago, you become so familiar with your environment that we tend to box our outlook out, right? But I think traveling gives you the opportunity to be with the adult version of yourself, to be with the child version of yourself, and just recalibrate and see outside of your normal environment, what are your red flags? What don't you like? What do you like? I think through traveling, independent, the first time, literally right after I turned 18 years old, I went to London by myself for over a week. I was there for 9 days, even doing something like that, just challenged my whole view on independence, right? And at the time, my realization, I literally lied to my parents how much money I had. I told my parents I had $2,800 or some shit, but my dumb ass bought some weed before I went out the country, and I bought some clothes and shit, some all types of shit, and I was only out in London for 9 days. I had $400, which is not a lot of bread to stretch internationally, but I made it work, and I'm here right now. So, little things like that. But that was also me just challenging my independence and seeing I came to the conclusion shit, I still needed a little bit more support, right? I was ready to move out of my parents' house when I was 17 years old, but at the same time, it's a blessing to be able to have a home here and have a support system here. So while traveling is important, creating an independent space is important, I think it's made me appreciate what I have here a lot more, my family, my friends, and my loved ones. And so that's just me. Traveling for myself is just, is building myself, new visions, new sights. I done seen every corner of the city, for the most part.
To steer things a little bit in a different direction, let's say the city of Chicago, because I think you have a lot of insight into what communities can be and what they can provide and how they can be formed and what the right ways are to look at things in the inverse of an ignorant way. You have a lot of insight into the genuine reality of what's going on in places. So let's say the city of Chicago came up to you tomorrow and they were like, Mac, we want to elect you as the city's creative communal director. You'll be in charge of overseeing, working with other community leaders to make sure every single part of Chicago has healthy, wealthy, supportive, thriving communities or focal points of communion. What would be the first things you do?
Yeah, shit. The first thing first is listening, right? I think a problem with politics is that politicians don't listen enough. So there's things that I want to see, but I think the things that everybody doesn't have the same vision, right? So I think the first step And in a role like that is understanding the scope of needs, right? I immediately see we have to address the major issues of equity, and whether that be social equity or capital equity. It's very hard for people to start businesses and for businesses they're passionate about to have streamlined systems of support. So I think we need more incubator programs. I see that looking like whether that be $5,000 to $10,000 capital, like people need the resources to pilot and start their ideas. And like with that, I think there is a level of, and this is me thinking like introductory side, we can talk about how it looks like for people that have a proven track record and are doing the work already, because that's where there shouldn't be any questions asked, right? There shouldn't be any questions asked. It should be, let's amplify the work that y'all are doing.
What you're already doing, right?
So that's one step, is amplifying the work, the great work of the organizations in the city. I can name
many
10 off top. Good Kid, Mad City, getting a Peace Book completely funded. There should be no lack of funding for a program like Peace Book. Beauty and Brands and the scholarship programs that they're creating for young women in the city. There should be no issue raising money. It's an abundance of them, I do think that we still have to look at how we can create less barriers of entry for people that don't align with the traditional requirements to access capital.
Agreed.
Because that's an issue as well, too. Even for us, we incorporated in 2020. So there was a point post-pandemic where a lot of our needs that, we were trying to get met, we didn't have the W-9s to access capital that's available. So
all these like standard forms of measurement of what you need to just access even being a business.
Yes, I mean, so it's a big, it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and I think it's hard to put like the what would you do into a singular statement. I think it takes a role like that takes diligence. It starts with research. It starts with understanding the needs of the businesses, of the community organizations, of the people that are doing the work, and it's creating pathways for those needs to be met, whether it's marginal over time, but we need to at least, I don't see why there needs to be money reallocated towards innovation, towards particularly innovation for Black and brown founders,
right?
Young founders, period.
Period. There's not much else to say.
So I mean, that's where we began. We began with, just increasing our capacity to create. And then I also think business training is important too. Like for myself, like I got my mom. My mom, this is her 4th store that she's opened up. She's an OG, right? And she's been through every process, even as we built this space, going through, properly doing our permits, creating architectural drawings, working with contractors, real business shit, right?
Real business shit.
Yeah, real business shit. Dealing with paying people, getting all the licenses and everything on the books. Like if we ain't have Sarah Queen Food, like Fourtune House Art Center would not exist. Period. Right? Yeah. It's that mentorship, and let founders. We need to be able to create access to capital while keeping our equity as well. Because sometimes people get pimped out their equity.
People get very pimped out very quickly.
People get pimped out their equity. So that's another thing too. So it's like, this is where we have to look at like what are the values of the society that we're building, and I think generosity plays a role in that too.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Generosity has to be there.
But like at heart, there is like the deconstructing of a lot of predatory exploitive systems like traditional banking that often doesn't create opportunities for owners like me. Because like my credit score is decent. My credit ain't out the world. I don't have bad credit though. But even then, like I'm 22 years old, and I ain't grew up in a rich ass crib. Like my people's work. So, they had a lot of priorities, and like they've done such a good job in creating opportunities for me But there's some areas that I still don't have access to because of, you know,
how things are already set.
Exactly. So that's a reality that, you know, I think a lot of business people that want to be business owners that look like me navigate. But that's where it's good to have a support system, have mentors.
Right, like you just said.
I done been in so many programs. Like I'm a Obama Foundation CLC alumni. I done been through Chicago Scholars and the Emerge program, a part of Metro Squash, and like everything in between, you know. And those have also served to give me like a lot of guidance and leaders, you know, being exposed to leadership of how to do things the right way, you know. So yeah, I think there's a lot. That if I was the director of what did you say?
I just made that up last night. The creative communal director.
The creative communal director. I will call 100 meetings. We'll meet every day for the next 100 days. And
That's so valid.
We'll figure this shit out. But I'll be like, everybody take a nap first, get well rested, smoke some weed, drink some water, eat some berries. And we're gonna figure this shit out. It's like businesses. Hierarchical structure in business makes sense, right? But I think when we talk about community, you have to create a floor that isn't like all possibility is gate kept through this single application.
Through this hierarchy, you know what
I mean? Because that's how it is with like a lot of bread. It's like, especially with grants, everything is so competitive. You know, it's hard to uplift each other when we're competing against each other. And so that's one thing too. I think we need like less competitive space in terms of building, you know. But it's also like you gotta do the work and build your value so that in the reality of this world being competitive, you can compete. So you gotta be real with yourself too. So like I'm an optimist, like,
and a realist.
I'm an optimist you have to be both. You have to be both, and you have to wear both shoes. And so, but it's like,
it's kind of like I said, you're big-hearted, but you also have clear boundaries. Yeah. My problem is the opposite. I'm big-hearted, but bad boundaries. I'm super optimist, not so much realist sometimes.
Yeah. But you know, shit, I struggle with that. It's not the easiest thing in the world because, you know, nobody wants to be like taken advantage of or like, you know, in any type of way. Like you want to be your purest, truest self. In whatever space you occupy, right? So it's one of those things where it's like it's good to have a big heart. Like for me, I'm just like I'm being myself, you know. But there's a lot of the world presents so much pressure, so it is difficult for a lot of people to navigate that pressure. And like for myself, like navigating just the pressure of the world is really hard. So, but we got it because shit, God got us, you know. Literally.
Going back to Fourtune House and talking about the opportunities that you want to offer people, could you talk about like the breadth of opportunities you think you can create by letting people express themselves here? Yeah,
I mean, I think we're like evaluating how programs look in the space, right? We're a creative company, so this, you know, the Art Center being, you know, being a creative venture, I think the goals is to be able to create programs and initiatives that empower artists. And so, I mean, an example of what we've, I think, been building for a long time that even just today, like talking to Nate about, is in the field of music, like audio production and engineering, and creating programs that not only engage the introductory perspectives within audio engineering, like navigating software, navigating hardware, you know, music theory, understanding themes like you know, random shit. I was talking to the homie Tiger yesterday about like, I was asking questions, but he was producing and shit, and I was like, what does compression mean? Like questions like those, you know. So that's on an introductory level to create like knowledge and education that's accessible to particularly younger generations. But you can learn music at any point. So I try not to like age information. You know what I mean? Like this information is for kids.
That's a really good point. Do you want to talk a little bit about that on a tangent, not trying to age information?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I think one of the biggest harms to Black children is the idea that, I think labeling is such a big problem, right? The idea of a kid being a bad kid, or a kid being a good kid, or a kid being old for his age, or a kid being immature for his age, right? I think that we have to, when looking at the way we communicate with each other, I know I got a 9-year-old homie that makes some profound art. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important that we challenge the younger generation to be themselves. And like, we have to stop putting kids in this box of like, man, even just like standardized tests and shit like that. God. Like, we put kids through so many like constraints where it drowns out by the time you get to, 16, 17 years old. You've been sandpapered down. Some people break the mold of their creativity being drowned and they flourish creatively. But there's a lot of kids that want to express themselves but don't have either the voice for it or their environment doesn't support them doing that. So for me, in terms of like aging information, like, even when kids first want to be artists, a story a lot of people share is like, you're not gonna make no money from that. That can break somebody's heart. You know what I mean? That can break somebody's passion. And it's like, I think capitalism has done that, where we have to like put this like value to every single thing that we do and like, distribute our time. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, to me, like, we should create a broader point of entry for creative empowerment. So it shouldn't just be like, you finish high school, now you can do this, or you finish 8th grade, now you can do this. Like, it should be, people gotta take their steps. And like, I'm grateful to, when I was a kid, to have like a level of freedom that allowed me to like explore and take my steps. But the world, I also understand why people box their kids in, because the world is fucking dangerous. Little kids be getting shot out here. You know what I mean? Trying to explore and express themselves. We don't put ourselves in the best predicaments, and shit be happening. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's the wrong steps. So I want people to take good steps when it comes to inspiring the next generation, because there was a lack of diligence with my generation. It's all about the next generation. It's, we have to explore past, present, and future with everything we do. Like, we impact the generation before us, we impact ourselves, and we impact the next one.
You had a post on Instagram where like reposted an image that said, communities aren't safer with more cops, they're safer with more resources. Why on earth had some people come to the conclusion that communities are safer with cops?
Yeah, I mean, it's because of the idea of cops. I mean, shit, niggas can read like the new Jim Crow and like see what the origin of policing is in the United States, but even globally, cops aren't the answer. I think it's been a measure that's been created to keep people in control, with the illusion of it's the same thing as the military, right? Like, and the thing for me is like, unless you've made that sacrifice, like, you can't fathom it, right? But at the same time, I think that we've created these degrees of separation that don't impart safety. So you have like half of the population that feels safe with cops and half that doesn't. So we're so I think it's so hard, like, we're so polarized, right? But at the end of the day, like, the answer isn't putting people in jail. The answer isn't finding people and making them poorer. The answer,
like you said, the answer isn't finding quote unquote bad people. Why are we labeling to us bad people?
Yeah, absolutely. So the answer is resources. The answer is if somebody's hungry, let's have food for them. Let's get them food. If somebody doesn't have a home, let's create a pathway for them to get a home.
Hungry cage where they can starve to death.
Absolutely. So it's like, fuck the police. For real though, it's like it's fuck the police, um, and man, like we could talk about this
For a long time, yeah, for a long time. So let's maybe go on a slightly lighter topic. You're very proud to be a cat dad.
Oh yeah, Blue and Black, them my boys, and Little Biscuit Head is my little sister. She at my mama's house.
What is it about being a cat dad that you enjoy
Man,
expressing?
I didn't even know I liked cats till I got cause my roommate had a bunny, and then I was going to PetSmart with her to get my old roommate to get some bunny food, and then I saw Black in the cage, and I was like, he was the only one in there, and I was like, I can't just leave this nigga here, when I made eye contact, I was like, I got my first cat. He was 3 weeks old. He was a little baby. He had worms and shit. I had to squeeze his mouth open and drop worm dewormer and shit. Like I raised him from a baby. So yeah, them my kids blew my boy too. I mean, I got him in December of 2020. So just in the winter of the pandemic. So as I think I found like comfort in my crib, like those my point guards. Like those my boys. So I love them. Good and you know, for me too, when I have like company and guests in my crib, like if Blue and Black don't fuck with you, you probably not gonna be in my crib again because they
peep the energy.
They're good energy sensors. Yeah, for real. Because like period.
I read in the in their 20s article that you also see Fourtune House as like a space to foster play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that whole idea is, we did a video game night, and I'm just like, what are the things and with the homie Aziz, like, we was just thinking, like, what are the things that we do that bring us joy, right? And it's as simple as playing Mario Kart, playing Super Smash Bros. Like, that's how I think about, like, when I was a kid, like, how did I build friendships playing in the playground? You know what I mean? Playing on Nintendo DS. And, like, I think at the heart, like, play, there's so many words that play represent. I think play is creativity. So play is having, like, I have free tattooed on my face, is, like, having that confidence and having that, letting your guard down and being able to express yourself. So that happens here, that happens outside of here. I think play is the absence of creative limitation. Like for myself, for example, like I be playing Pokemon Showdown. Like I've played like 4,000 matches in the past 2 years. So I'll be on that shit, right? That's my escape. It gets my brain turning, and like, I'm looking at like just the different values in it. It's literally all equations. But to me, that's pretty fun. So just having fun. I think it's important to, the world is so serious.
Yeah.
There's so many issues that we're navigating, and we have to navigate those issues. But at the same time, like, we want to be happy too, So that's the importance of play. It's just creating a space for us to be happy.
Where's Fourtune House headed? Like, where do you want to take it? And how can anyone listening or watching help support you in that mission?
I mean, we want to continue to build this space into an art center at the front of a creative renaissance. I want to continue to give back to my community and what Chicago needs, right? And I mean, I see us building strong, comprehensive programs that explore multiple disciplines, producing large-scale events that create unforgettable experiences, that tap into history, that tap into expression, past, present, future, every step in between. But I mean, really just functioning as a high-level creative company. So being production-oriented. There's a lot of, I'm not going to give every single play.
Can't give it all away. Can't give it all away.
Yeah, it's a lot of things in motion, just trying to figure out how to build something, and not even how, but we're building something impactful.
Right.
And so it's just continuing to take those steps. And like, all we need is just, come buy a sweatshirt, come buy a t-shirt, donate to us.
It's a little thing, a little interaction.
You know what I mean?
Drop.
We're sponsoring the homies hair care show. Drop off some, you know what I mean? Drop off some natural hair products. You know what I mean?
That today.
You know what I mean? The little things like that add up. And so, you know, and that's all we need from our community. It's just, you know, the little things add up.
Well, thank you so much, Makafui, for joining me on the show today. This was amazing.
My G, it's great to be on. Bless. Peace, brother.
Thanks so much for tuning in. The best way you can support The Intersection is to like, subscribe, leave a review on your podcast platform, or share the show with someone you think will like it. That's the most important one. If you do any of these things, I'll be grateful. Send me a note on Instagram showing proof, and I'll leave you a voice note with my own gratitude. Thanks.